even further beyond!
Yeah, my name's Zakashi, and in this video is going to be a guide on rising rushes. Now, a lot of new players, or even you veterans, you might not actually know what goes into a rising rush, and it's actually a lot more than you think and how they actually work. But I'm literally going to put pictures on the side of the screen as well as showing the character screen so that you guys can actually get a visual of what I'm talking about. That will help you actually get higher rising rushes and just guarantee you more damage all around, whether you're doing a challenge. The main reason I'm actually doing this video specifically today, well, whenever this is uploaded, I don't know, but at the time I'm doing this video, this event is here and there's a challenge that says get 4 million rising rush. But I know there's lots of these in the story, and there's been events like this before where they actually ask you to get a high rising rush. So just knowing this, and I feel like this video is the type to have a lot of longevity, because people will just generally know how to get a high rising rush. So I'm going to go into a few things here. So hopefully you guys are going to enjoy this video, man. If you haven't already, make sure to press that subscribe button on this grind to 15k. All my socials are on the left. Is the YouTube channel where we've got Twitter, Twitch, Reddit, Instagram, and a Discord link, all in the description as well. So check me out, all of those, especially the Discord and Instagram, trying to grow those more always. But yeah, let's actually get into this video now. So I'm going to be using the Fusion team as an example, just to get off my whole point of how rising rushes work, because I feel like the Fusion team is a good and easy team to actually counter. So obviously there's two sides of the rising rush. There's one side where you're actually doing the rising rush, and there's one side where you're countering the rising rush. If you're the one getting rising rushed, you're always going to have the same 4 cards to pick. And if you didn't know, they do teach you at the beginning of the game, but I actually didn't know for a while, but I know now, of course. But you're always going to have a strike, a blast arts, special move, that's the blue, and the special skill, which is the green. You're going to have one of each. Whereas if you're rising rushing, you'll only have cards that were in your inventory. So you know, like how you're playing PvP continuously, if you have 4 strike cards before you press the rising rush, your rising rush options are going to be 4 strike cards. But sometimes they could hold you, so you could rising rush at the end of the combo, have no cards in your deck, but still get 4 strike cards. So that makes it even worse, because like you don't have a choice. Basically you have to pick strike cards because you only have 4 strike cards. But the worst thing about picking strike cards is that if the other person doesn't pick, the computer usually makes them pick strike cards. If I'm pretty sure they do all the time, because if they don't pick a card, this is in PvP more so, the computer usually picks. But in PvP, if the person doesn't pick a card, it'll always take the first option. And because they have one of each option, and it's always the same when you're countering a rising rush, it will always be the strike cards first. So if you have 4 strike cards and they don't even pick, you've lost immediately. But that's something that you should just know. But let's go into actually getting rising rush damage. So like I said, I was going to use the Fusion team as an example. The Fusion team is a team that thrives off strike damage right now. Most of them are melee types. I believe all of them are maybe, yeah, they're all melee types. Let me just check Vegito. I think he's defensive type, yeah. But they're all melee types. Vegito and Vegito Blue and Kefla are melee types. So the way my team's going to work, I'm going to have lots of strike cards. If you go into them, Vegito Blue, 2 strike cards. Whoops. I need to eat, that's what it was. But if you go into Kefla, 2 strike cards. So I'm going to be getting lots of strike cards basically. And if I run Vegito Blue, Kefla, and then Super Vegito, I believe Super Vegito also has 2 strike cards, then that means I'm going to have 6 additional strike cards. So the chances of me rising rush with lots of strike cards is going to be high. And your rising rush damage is scaled upon how much how high your stats are basically. So if you have 4 strike cards, you're gonna have, you pick one, and that one isn't included in the animation, but the 3 that you didn't pick are what the animation would be. So you'd have like 3 kicks or punches or whatever. Or if you have the green, it'll be a grapple, special move, you do your special move, whatnot. And the blast arts are obviously a blast attack in the animation. So just to reiterate, the 3 that you don't pick are what the animation is going to consist of. So that's the damage you're going to be doing. So using that knowledge, you should be able to gauge straight away that if you had 3 special moves and you had 1 strike cards and you pick the 1 strike cards, you're going to have 3 special move animations. And special moves obviously do the most damage in the game out of anything. So those special moves are going to make you get a higher rise and rush damage. So if you're trying to get a high rise and rush amount, the best bet is to actually use characters that have main abilities that bring in special moves. So I'm gonna go to the character list, is what I actually aim for. It's too common how I get interrupted, but characters that actually bring in special moves that you should really use just to get the special move would be like Namek Goku brings in one, this Vegeta brings in one, this Gogeta, Shallot brings in one at God form, I'm pretty sure. Trunks Youth over here. Just some examples so you guys can see. You can obviously look at their main ability, but these are just off head that I'm seeing. This Vegeta here brings one. Yeah, full power Frieza here. I believe LF Piccolo does. Super Vegito, and the list goes on. You guys know Bardock as well, the red Bardock. But you guys should know who brings in special moves. So that's one way you can actually go ahead and get a lot of damage. If you have 3 special moves, you will know that you're going to get a lot of damage. Another way you can go about it is by actually debuffing the enemy. So a method that's actually used a lot is actually using the EX Mai. So let me scroll down. Where is she? Where is she? I believe she's purple. Yeah, EX Mai is a really good character for actually debuffing the enemy, because her green cards actually cause immobilization, I believe, some type of thing like that. So it says here, flashbang shortens ally substitution count by 5 upon activation, inflicts flash on hit, inflicts enemy with attribute downgrade plus 20% to damage received. So overall, just because you have her, if you get those off, you can actually just cause a big inconvenience for the enemy, especially because you'd be able to get more than one off. And if you're carrying other characters, you're also bringing green cards, maybe like Dabura, and then you just carry like one good character who's actually going to do the damage source. So say the enemy is obviously green, you'd bring a purple to have type advantage, and you do her green cards, you're guaranteed to land the Rising Rush on them. And on top of that, if you get 3 of these off, you'd be doing plus 60% extra damage. So that's really good. And on top of that, it actually shortens the substitution count, so you won't even be waiting. She's a really good source to get in Rise and Rush damage if you have trying to clear specific battle that asks for damage like that. Another way that I use, if you go back to Sparkins, if you have the Super Saiyan Bardock here, if you don't know, Super Saiyan Bardock, if you switch out from him, he actually gives buffs. So I believe it's the Golden Saiyan. So here, the Golden Saiyan, his unique ability applies the following effects to allied tag Super Saiyan when this character is switched to standby. So you get plus 25% to damage inflicted for 20 time accounts, plus 30% to critical rate for 15 time accounts, and plus 70% to critical damage inflicted for 15 time accounts. If you switch out from him to a Super Saiyan, you'd literally be doing so much more damage. And in this scenario, you'd obviously not be using special moves. However, just the fact that you're getting a lot of crit damage, your damage inflicted for the Rise and Rush is going to be multiplied a lot more. So characters that you can use that are Super Saiyan, they have to be Super Saiyan 1s. So Namek Goku's a good one. Trunks Youth is a good one because he actually brings a special move as well. This Broly, I believe he gives a special move. Super Gogeta's special moves are insanely good because he gets buffed through his main ability for doing that. Just some off the head, depending on what color enemy you're fighting. Super Gogeta, the red one, is a really good one now that he's got his Zenkai Awakening now. So just a few just to name off head, but using that type of premise, you can actually look for other characters that actually buff people when switching out. So if you don't know, Vados is a really good one, really good support for your team. Her main ability restores allies' health and gives plus 30% to damage inflicted, but I believe when she switches out as well, applies the following effects when this character switches to standby to allies. So you get plus 35% to damage inflicted, and you can get extra damage inflicted depending on how many times you've switched out, I believe. So that's something good. And I believe EX Whis is another one that's really good like that. She only applies it to God Key characters, I'm pretty sure, whereas Vados is just to allies. So Vados is obviously the better option, but if you're using Whis, his unique ability, he benefits Beerus a lot, but on top of that, it's just the following effects to tag God Key. So if you have God Key character, you can switch out from Whis to get that plus 20%, 25% damage inflicted. All of these will help you get extra Rise and Rush damage, and if you put all these all this information that I put together, that I told you together, in terms of what cards you're using for your Rise and Rush and what characters you're mixing together to actually get a high Rise and Rush damage total, you'd literally just obliterate any target that you're trying to reach. Obviously, in some cases, they might ask for high numbers, so you'd have to be combining everything that I told you in this video together. But once you get the hang of actually mixing and matching teams, it's actually quite a bit of fun, I'm not gonna lie, because you actually have to use your head. In most cases, characters are good enough just off basis, so you don't need to do all this thinking to actually get high rise and rush. But in some cases, you might not have Zenkai characters, for example, so you'd actually need to actually think about who you're using. Type advantage is another big factor. Like, I gave you some characters who have different colors, but in a lot of cases, because you're getting extra buffs and whatnot, you don't need to worry too much about type advantage. The last thing I want to say that would actually help you out in some cases, if you're the last one alive on your team, you get more rise and rush damage generally. I think that's just something I've noticed, but I'm not sure about that 100%. But say if your 2 allies die, then the last person alive will actually just do more rise and rush damage than usual. And some characters are actually good last standing units, so that just benefits them a lot. But you can just test it out, play around. There'll be some clips on the side of this video to show you some examples. But here are some characters that I just showed you, like Bardock, EX Whis, Vados. They're good for actually buffing your teammates. And then of course you have those units that actually bring special moves if you want to go that route of getting special move damage, because special moves do way more damage than strike and blast. But depending on what type, what way your team is orientated, so if they're melee types and they have a lot of strike cards, so they'll have a lot of strike cards damage as well, then you'd want to be keeping strike cards in your deck when you rise and rush. But yeah, that's pretty much everything that I've got to tell you about rise and rushes. I feel like this is something that'll have quite longevity, quite a lot of longevity for people that don't know how rise and rushes work or need help getting high rise and rush damage. So yeah, hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video, man. Hopefully it was informative. If you haven't already, make sure to press that subscribe button on this grind to 15k. All my socials on the left is the YouTube channel, but we've got Twitter, Twitch, Reddit, Instagram, and a Discord link all in the description below, so make sure to check me out on all of those. But yeah, I'm just gonna leave it like that. My name's Zakashi, guys, and I will see you guys in the next one.
Please, lend me your energy! You're through!